Hi, I'm Mia, a storyteller on a journey of healing. Cultivating a positive mindset and learning English, there are moments in life when everything becomes strangely quiet. Even if the world around you is still moving, still noisy, still full of distractions, and yet inside you, something pauses. It's in those moments that a question gently rises to the surface, almost like a whisper you've been avoiding for a long time. Why does love feel so difficult for me? Not dramatic, not loud, just present. And the more you sit with it, the more it unfolds into other questions that feel just as heavy, just as honest. Why do you overthink the smallest things, replaying conversations in your mind as if searching for a mistake you might have made? Why does your chest tighten when someone you care about pulls away, even slightly, even for a moment? Why do you stay in situations that don't truly make you happy, telling yourself that maybe things will change, maybe this time it will be different? At first, it's almost instinctive to look at the present for answers. You tell yourself it's because you met the wrong person, or the timing wasn't right, or maybe you just haven't been lucky when it comes to love. And for a while, that explanation feels comforting because it gives you something external to blame. It protects you from looking too deeply within. But then, slowly, patterns begin to reveal themselves. Different faces, different names, different stories. Yet somehow the same emotions keep returning. The same fears, the same sense of confusion, the same endings that leave you wondering what went wrong. And it's in that realization that something deeper begins to surface, a quiet understanding that this might not be about the present at all. That maybe, just maybe, this has been with you for much longer than you think. Because the truth is, many of the struggles we carry in love are not created in adulthood. They're echoes. Echoes from childhood, from a time when you didn't have the words to explain what you felt, when you didn't have the awareness to understand your emotions, and when you didn't always have the safety to express them freely. Inside every adult, no matter how strong, independent, or self-aware they seem, there is still a child, a younger version of you who experienced love in its earliest form. And sometimes that child is still holding on to pain that was never fully seen, never fully understood, never fully healed. Childhood is where we first learn what love feels like, but not through explanations or definitions. We learn it through experiences, through the way we were spoken to when we made mistakes, through the way we were comforted when we were hurt, through the way our emotions were received or dismissed. If love felt safe, consistent, and unconditional, then you likely grew up believing that love is something stable, something you can trust, something that doesn't require you to change who you are. But if love felt unpredictable, distant, or conditional, if you had to behave a certain way, achieve certain things, or suppress parts of yourself just to receive affection, then a different belief may have formed within you. A belief that love must be earned, that you must prove yourself worthy of being chosen, and so without even realizing it, you adapt. You become more agreeable, more understanding, more patient. You try to be easy to love. You learn to anticipate the needs of others before they even express them. You give more than you receive, hoping that eventually it will be enough. And as you grow older, these patterns don't just disappear. They follow you into your adult relationships, shaping the way you love, the way you connect, the way you respond to closeness and distance. This is why you may find yourself constantly trying to do more for someone you care about, believing that if you just love them well enough, they will stay. This is why it can feel uncomfortable when someone shows you love without conditions, because a part of you doesn't fully trust it. It feels unfamiliar. And what is unfamiliar can feel unsafe, even if it is actually healthy. So instead, you may find yourself drawn to dynamics that feel more intense, more uncertain, more emotionally unstable, not because you want to suffer, but because on some level that chaos feels familiar. And familiarity, even when painful, can feel like home. Within you lives what many call the inner child. Not as an abstract idea, but as a living emotional presence, a part of you that carries your earliest experiences, your unmet needs, your deepest fears. This inner child reveals itself most clearly in moments when you feel triggered. When someone becomes distant and suddenly you feel a wave of anxiety that seems disproportionate to the situation. When conflict arises and you either shut down completely or become overwhelmed with emotion. These reactions can feel confusing, even frustrating, because logically, you may know that the situation is not as serious as it feels. But emotionally, it feels very real. And that's because you are not only reacting to the present moment, you are responding to something much older, something that your inner child remembers all too well. Without awareness, we tend to repeat what feels familiar, even if it hurts us. It's not because we enjoy pain, but because our minds are wired to seek what it recognizes. So you may find yourself in relationships where communication is unclear, where affection is inconsistent, where you are left questioning your place in someone's life. You may stay longer than you should, hoping that if you just try harder, things will finally work. You may avoid expressing your needs because you are afraid that doing so will push the other person away. And when things don't work out, you may turn the blame inward, believing that somehow it was your fault. Asterisk that these patterns are not signs of weakness. They are adaptations. They are strategies you developed at a time when you didn't have control, when you needed to find ways to feel safe, to feel accepted, to feel loved. The problem is, what once helped you survive may now be preventing you from truly thriving. When there is an emotional emptiness inside, it is only natural to want someone else to fill it. To want someone who reassures you constantly, who chooses you again and again, who makes you feel certain and secure. And there is nothing wrong with wanting that. It is human to desire connection, to want to feel loved. But when that desire comes from a place of lack, it can create a kind of pressure that no relationship can sustain. Because no matter how much someone cares about you, they cannot fully heal wounds that were created long before they entered your life. Asterisk healing begins with something simple, yet incredibly powerful: awareness. The moment you start noticing your patterns without immediately judging yourself for them, something begins to shift. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this trying to show me?" And in that question, there is a quiet invitation. An invitation to understand yourself more deeply. Awareness creates space. Space between your emotions and your reactions. Space where you are no longer controlled entirely by your past. And in that space, you begin to realize that you have a choice. A choice to respond differently. A choice to pause instead of react. A choice to care for yourself in ways you may not have experienced before. Asterisk, but healing is not always gentle. It often asks you to slow down in a world that encourages you to keep moving. It asks you to feel emotions you've spent years avoiding. Many of us were never taught how to sit with our feelings, so we distract ourselves. We stay busy. We seek validation from others. We overthink instead of feeling. But healing asks for the opposite. It asks you to sit in stillness, to listen, to feel without trying to fix or escape. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. It can feel overwhelming at times. But what you avoid will continue to control you. And what you allow yourself to face, with patience and compassion, will begin to lose its power over you. One of the most transformative parts of this journey is learning how to reparent yourself, to become the safe, nurturing presence that you may not have had when you were younger. It means speaking to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. It means allowing yourself to feel without shame. It means reminding yourself again and again that you are worthy of love exactly as you are. Not because of what you do, not because of what you give, but simply because you exist. As you begin to heal, you will notice changes in the way you relate to others. You will start to set boundaries, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. You will begin to recognize what is healthy and what is not. You will learn to walk away from situations that no longer serve you, even when it's difficult. And slowly, your definition of love will begin to shift. Love will no longer feel like something you have to chase or fight for. It will no longer feel like something you have to prove yourself worthy of. Instead, it will begin to feel calm, safe, mutual, respectful. And perhaps, at first, that kind of love may feel unfamiliar, even boring. But over time, you will realize that what you once thought was boring is actually peace. And in that peace, something beautiful happens. You begin to come back to yourself. You begin to trust yourself more. Your intuition becomes clearer. Your sense of self becomes stronger. You are no longer defined by your wounds, but by your awareness. Healing your inner child is not about blaming your past or holding on to pain. It is about understanding where your patterns come from so they no longer control you. It is about giving yourself the compassion you may not have received when you needed it most. It is about returning to the truth of who you are, beyond the fear, beyond the doubt, beyond the belief that you are not enough. Because the truth is, you were never too much. You were never not enough. You were simply a child who needed love, safety, and understanding, and didn't always receive it in the way you deserved. And now, you have the chance to give that to yourself. And when you do, everything begins to change. You stop searching for someone to complete you. You stop settling for less than what you deserve. You stop abandoning yourself to keep someone else. Instead, you begin to live as someone who is already whole, and from that place, love no longer feels like something you have to fight for. It feels like something you are finally ready and worthy to receive